Good afternoon, everyone.
Thanks.
Buenas tardes. You know, it's really great to be back in the city that I consider home. Yeah. Ever since, I've considered Miami home ever since it embraced me the day that I landed here as a 10-year-old Cuban refugee. This is where I was raised, and this is where I belong, and this is where I began a lifelong series of reinventions that got me to where I am today. Learning how to succeed in this country, learning how to get a good education, and learning that opportunities don't often come knocking at your door. In fact, many cases you have to identify opportunities that come disguised as obstacles. But the bottom line is you have to seize them no matter where you find them and no matter how well disguised they are. Just like entrepreneurs do every day in and out. Over the years, I've seen this city reinvent itself time and time again, just like it's doing now. From being a great place to vacation, to being one that is also a hotbed of entrepreneurship and the gateway to innovation in Latin America. In fact, in 2015, the Kaufman Index named Miami the second most entrepreneurial city in the nation, only second to Austin, Texas. And Miami is now home to 139 startups and companies on the Inc. 5000 list. And I think this is possible by great visionaries like Miami-Dade County Mayor Carlos Jimenez and leaders like Manny Medina and Javier Gonzalez, who have put on this great conference of Emerge Americas. But let me say this, transformation, whether on a personal level, a professional level, an enterprise level, or even on a city level, is more important now than ever before. As I said in my speech, and the title of the speech is, Today You Can Disrupt or You Can Expect to Be Disrupted. Those are the only two choices. And I don't think I need to convince you that this disruption is real. It is happening all around us, and I firmly believe there are three forces that are driving this disruption. First is the advances that are being made in software and software development. Second, the advances that are being made in mobile broadband. And finally, the advances that are being made in cloud technology. Those three things, software, mobile broadband, and cloud technologies, are like the perfect storm for innovation and entrepreneurship. They're creating and birthing new business models that are happening not just in the US or Miami, they're happening on a global basis. And I want to share some insights about each one of those three and give you a sense of how we see the world from those three perspectives. First, on software. It was not that long ago that Mark Andreessen in 1911 said that software was eating the world. Many of you may have remembered that famous quote. Well, now with open source software, with agile development and application programming interfaces, software is getting faster, better, and cheaper every day. But the amazing thing that happens now with software is you can virtualize things that were previously being done with hardware. This is a really, really big change. Sometimes the people in IT call them virtual machines, but I'd like to give you a couple of examples that I think bring it home for me and then highlight for you how significant these changes are for software taking things that were previously done in hardware and making them software-based. I travel a lot, like many of you, and it wasn't all that long ago when I traveled internationally that I would carry the small alarm clock. It's a physical thing. I no longer carry alarm clocks. I don't care where I travel in the world. The alarm clock function is now virtual. It's an app on my smartphone. So I no longer carry a little alarm clock. I used to carry a small flashlight. You know, in places where I travel, especially internationally, I would take a small flashlight just in case. I no longer do that. Why? Because that same flashlight is in my smartphone, again, as a virtual application, a piece of software. And finally, I don't know how many of you carry calculators anymore, but I'm an engineer. I used to carry at one time HP 35 calculators. I never do that anymore. Everything that I need is on my smartphone. It's a virtual application on that smartphone. Well, the big idea is that the same thing that happened to applications that we use in our everyday lives is happening in our network, the communications network. And Everything that used to be done in hardware is now going to be done in software for a significant portion of the network components. In fact, we at AT&T, who run one of the largest networks in the world, have stated that by 2020, 75% of our network will be software defined. That's a huge change from the old days of doing it with hardware. I'll explain more about the human implications of that in just a second. The other aspect that I mentioned, the second factor, was mobile broadband. And mobile broadband is absolutely taken off like nobody had ever seen. In fact, if you ask Andreessen Horowitz, the same firm that in 2011 said software is eating the world, what do they say today in 2015? It's no longer software is eating the world. According to Benedict Evans from that firm, today mobile is eating the world. Why? Because all the software is now being developed for the mobile devices first. And in fact, we have seen an incredible growth in our network. Let me give you a statistic that boggles the mind. Between 2007 and 2015, our wireless network grew 150,000%. Can you imagine the I-95 growing 150,000% in that time frame? It's huge. That's a huge number. In fact, today, over 60% of the data traffic on our total network is video. We have become a video-first network as a result of mobile devices and the things that are happening on those devices, primarily the consumption of video. And we're just getting started because, as you know, we're rapidly moving not just from 4G mobile broadband to 5G, which will make it faster with much less latency. And finally, the cloud. The cloud is exploding, and Cisco predicts that by 2019, cloud data center traffic is going to grow by 83%, primarily driven from the cloud. If you look at a survey back in the end of 2014, just so you can get a sense of how fast this is changing, when a survey was done by BitGlass to ask companies how many of them were putting their applications in the cloud, they responded with 25%. By the end of 2015, it was 48%. And I'm here to tell you that for AT&T, one of the largest corporations in the world, we are going to move all of our internal IT applications to the cloud so that by the end of this year, we'll have 80% of our applications residing in the cloud. That's how fast this is working. Once you have it in the cloud, then you can protect the end devices, you can have a virtual protection network, and you can protect the cloud. That's what customers want. End-to-end solutions that provide security and safety for the data and the applications that they use. So what happens when you have software that's rapidly advancing, combined with a great mobile network capability, combined with the cloud? Complete industries are getting reinvented and disrupted. The best example I can give you is what happened to me at the end of last year when I was in London. I was in London, and of course, you open the front page of the Financial Times, and there's this huge headline that really gets to the core of what I'm speaking here today. And the headline in London was that the black cabbie school for cabbies in London was shutting down. Black cabbies in London are legendary. It takes 3 years to go through cabbie school for drivers to get a license to be able to drive around London. They provide outstanding service. I've never been in one of them that the driver wasn't terrific. You would give them 10s. Yet, their school was shutting down. What was the cause? Part of the cause, as outlined in the article, was Uber. What happens when you have Uber? You have an application that resides on a mobile device that accesses data in the cloud. And in this case, the mobile device, the mobile broadband network, and the cloud were sufficiently close to what they were experiencing with black cabbies. Not the same, I don't think, but close enough that people are willing to accept a completely new disruptive model. By the way, Uber is my customer. They've been our customer for several years, and we've seen them grow from a local company to a global company because of the emergence of these new models. So what are we doing to just transform companies in this environment? I would say that you can transform your technology, but until you can transform your people, you're never going to be able to transform the company. So we at AT&T have taken an effort that we call Workforce 2020 to reskill and retrain our workforce from one that is hardware-centric to one that is software-centric. And we actually have spent over $280 million and plan $280 million spent on an annual basis to retrain our people. So far, over 1.8 million courses have been taken by our employees. And the message that we're giving to our employees is very transparent and very upfront. The growth jobs of the future are going to be software-driven, and there will be less and less hardware-driven jobs because there'll be less and less hardware in our network. And so our employees are taking the initiative to reskill themselves in record numbers. We're also working with academia to have training courses that help people get in tune with the 2020 environment. So we have funded the Master's in Computer Science with Georgia Tech in combination with Udacity. This is the first massive open online course using the MOOC concept where you can get a complete master's degree at Georgia Tech online for less than $7,000. This is huge. If you go there and take the course yourself, it's going to cost you, I guarantee you, a lot more than that. We've also founded thousands of nano degrees working with Udacity so our employees can actually move forward and get ready for what's coming in 2020. In addition to retooling our workforce, I think we're also finding that we as AT&T have to act in a more entrepreneurial and innovative fashion. We're a company that recognizes that we no longer can wait for ideas to come to us. We have to go to where ideas are being created. So we have put in place 5 foundries throughout the world. Foundries are innovation centers where small startups can bring their ideas to AT&T and we can help them get it to market. So we have foundries now in Palo Alto, near Stanford, in Tel Aviv, Israel, in Dallas, in Atlanta, Georgia, near Georgia Tech. And our latest foundry is in Houston, Texas, at the site of the Texas Medical Center, where some of the greatest research is being done to treat cancer and to prevent cancer. We also have taken the approach that inside of AT&T, we have to create small entrepreneurial units that are self-contained, that have their own legal support, have their own HR support, have their own finance support, and are small companies. Some of them have even their own brand when they go to market to be able to leverage the new ideas that are being brought forth by smart entrepreneurs and startup companies. I'll give you a couple of examples of that. Cricket Wireless is one of our companies. It's so different that it has its own brand, completely different than AT&T. I'm proud to tell you that last year, at the end of 2015, in the second half of the year, Cricket Wireless led all prepaid wireless providers in net customer additions in the country, and now have over 12,000 retail outlets in the United States. And Cricket Wireless is now one of the fastest growing prepaid wireless companies in the US. We also launched a Digital Life service, which is a home security and automation service. Digital Life is, again, a self-contained unit with its own little sub-brand. It's now in 84 US markets, and Digital Life led all the home security and automation companies in the country in adding net customer additions in the second half of the year. So you can see a pattern here that we're forming small units to be able to grow. Finally, on the Internet of Things, we now have more than 26 million connected devices to our network. That includes cars, watches, alarms, you name it. In fact, Gartner research says there will be 250 million connected cars by the end of 2020 on the road. We alone at AT&T added 1 million connected cars to the AT&T network in just the fourth quarter of 2015, and now have nearly 7 million cars connected to our network. And we now have signed 17 of the top global car brands in the United States to our network. And finally, that brings me to the newest entrepreneurial unit that we have established inside of AT&T. It's called Smart Cities, and it's led by Mike Zito, sitting right here in the very front row. We just announced at this conference earlier today that Miami-Dade County is now the newest spotlight city as part of our Smart Cities pilot program, and it follows Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and Montgomery County, Maryland. And this is all around making cities smarter so they can better serve the residents of those cities. We're using IoT innovations that address public safety, transportation, lighting, any number of things to make the city smarter and more productive and more effective. But I want to reflect on what this announcement means today to Miami and Miami-Dade. I think it means to me that Miami-Dade is reinventing itself again by embracing technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship to play a role in the new software economy and to make sure that these important trends propel this city forward. I kind of almost compare what's happening today to the parallel back to the 1950s and 60s to the expansions of the American highway system that significantly changed our way of life. Cities that welcomed the highway prospered, and cities that did not were left out of a booming economy. Technology, entrepreneurship, and innovation are the highways of the software economy, and Miami-Dade Mayor Carlos Jimenez and his team deserve recognition for their vision and their initiative to make sure that this city doesn't miss out on this new wave of technological disruption. They deserve recognition for their vision and leadership in bringing the 23 communities of Miami-Dade County into the 21st century. On a very personal note, having been raised in Miami, having been embraced by Miami at probably the most difficult time in my life, I could not be prouder to see it all transform itself yet one more time. So that this city is just not known for its beautiful, beautiful architecture and layout, but also for its climate of innovation and entrepreneurship. In closing, whether you're a city or a county like Miami-Dade, a large company like AT&T, a small entrepreneur, or an individual, the message is the same. Transform and disrupt, or be prepared to be disrupted. I know which side AT&T is on. I know which side Miami-Dade is on. I know what side I'm on. And by virtue of you being here, I suspect you want to be on the same side as well. Now it's your time to disrupt, and I want to wish you the very best of luck. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much.